we are in for some tough years ahead. I do believe that we are not going to be able to be as safe or say what we want to. I don't think free speech is going to be as free.
When you put a campaign together and you hire young people to do work, not only am I not interested in your opinion, I'm not even going to call you by your name. I don't really give a what you think. Fire that person on the spot.
CBS News. Then I asked for a forensic review of the laptop, and we found that there were more than half a dozen emails that were likely used by Joe Biden.
CNN had a complete meltdown over the possibility of Elon Musk purchasing MSNBC. On the one hand, they told us it was completely ridiculous and unlikely that it would ever happen, yet they devoted an entire segment telling viewers how dangerous it would be for free speech if Elon Musk actually purchased MSNBC. Here's a look.
And you said in some ways, always. I feel like X, I don't know if anyone is on it in any capacity. I don't know if you're on it. And you're the only one? You're on it? You all are on it? Okay. I've actually decided to take a rest of peace because it is not a peaceful place for me. And I know if, in fact, you don't agree with this current administration, most people can say that it's not a peaceful place. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an actual bid made to take on MSNBC, but the fact that it just can't happen in real life.
And we just can't.
It's
officially
not even
for sale.
It's not officially for sale.
The last
it's not
time he
realistic.
mused about maybe buying something.
It's not even realistic in real life. But I do believe that media, everyone sitting here at this table, if you don't agree, we are in for some tough. We're in for some tough years ahead. I do believe that we are not going to be able to be as safe or say what we want to. I don't think free speech is going to be as free.
Now, Scott, I want to bring you in here because this kind of link to Orban.
First of all, never say never. That's what they said about the Titanic. We all know how that ended. And then there was also the same talk when Elon Musk joked about buying Twitter. No one thought it was possible, and then lo and behold, he actually did. Now, what she said there, what that commentator said about free speech being less free, I think the translation of that is she's actually going to have pushback. She's actually going to have people who disagree with her point of view. And by the way, that is not an infringement of your free speech. That is actually an expansion of free speech for people with other points of view. People should be happy about that. But of course, liberals have been so used to dominating the conversation on the airwaves, on college campuses, in corporate America, that they are so unused to these other ideas that they think it is an infringement on their rights. But fortunately, free speech is spreading thanks to people like Elon Musk. Now, before I show you this next moment, which is even crazier, I just wanted to say that I also loved Scott Jennings' face throughout that entire exchange. He was really giving J.D. Vance, right? That moment during the vice presidential debate when J.D. Vance eyed the camera in the, I don't know if I can do it. I don't think I can do it. I'm trying. You know, what are you talking about? Like, to the viewership audience at home, like, you guys hearing this fool? Scott Jennings was sort of giving that vibe, giving that energy. And, you know, at the end of that segment, you heard her mention Orban. They were about to talk about Viktor Orban, but Scott Jennings said, nope, I have more to say. So he actually wrestled the conversation back to MSNBC Free Speech Elon Musk, and here is what he said to the panel.
Also, I heard what you're saying about X. I saw a survey this week. It's now the most ideologically balanced user platform.
Scott, stop. It's too early. I just sat down. I've only been here for 2 minutes.
You cannot continue to say that.
You cannot say that. That's not the case. Who's the source of that?
What I find, we reported it on this network.
It's not accurate, and you know it.
Okay, I'll let you make your statement.
Scott,
but my point is
this. Can I reframe it a different way? Because the site changed radically, right? So whether you think the voices it is somehow more balanced now, that's fine. But no doubt Musk's influence is profound, and that you open it up and now you're there with his opinion, and he is now part of this administration. So does anyone else think that there should be this greater concern about billionaires purchasing media companies?
Okay. Would you be worried if Bill Gates controlled MSNBC?
No, because he's sane.
Because
So that right there, like, the implication is that someone in the administration can't have free speech. Someone in the administration isn't allowed to share their thoughts. Second of all, did you notice that they were all caught off guard? And I reported it on my channel, by the way, a few days ago. It was CNN's Harry Enton that revealed on their own network that Twitter, X, is now more ideologically balanced than it has ever been. And so to me, it's kind of alarming that CNN's own commentators, people on their own payroll, don't even know the facts that are being reported on their own network before they commentate about it. Here is a look. Again, I shortened this because I played the whole clip earlier this week, but in case anyone missed it or in case you forgot, here is what was broadcast on their own network not even, maybe 4 days ago.
So one of the big reasons he bought Twitter/X is because he wanted to make it his own platform, remake it in his own image. And I think this really gets at it. Look at this. The party ID among those who regularly use X/Twitter for news. Back in 2022, 65% of those who regularly use Twitter/X for news were Democrats. Just 31% were Republicans. Look at where we are today. Just a completely different picture. Now it's basically split between Democrats at 48%, Republicans at 47%. And what I should note, Mr. Berman, is this new overall makeup matches the overall electorate far better. And more than that, John, look at where Mr. Musk's net worth is today versus where it was just 2 months ago.
Cool. And can I just point out that Democrats still, I know it's a tiny, tiny margin, but they still technically outnumber Republicans on X. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier in the video. It's not an infringement on their free speech. They just now have to deal with other points of view. And of course, they are not used to that because they've been used to and conditioned to and brainwashed into thinking that their dominion of the conversation is the natural order of things. And of course, it's not. And that's why they are so livid. They are so mad at Elon Musk. And I hope, he's trolling right now. But you never know. That troll could be prophetic in a way. Maybe he is going to buy MSNBC. And maybe there actually will be free and fair competition on the airwaves, providing points of view that we don't currently see in the mainstream media. Now, this isn't just an issue within the mainstream media, it's actually plaguing the entire Democrat Party, including all of their extensions, but they've been usurped and hijacked, if you will, by these young Democrat activists who have zero experience in the real world. I mean, Kamala's campaign, there have been so many exposés after the election about how horrible it was, how horrible she was to her staff. Obviously, we found out that they're $20 million in debt after they raised a historic $1 billion. And now we know that these younger cohorts, these younger activists, essentially bullied their elders and these experienced consultants into submission. And that's why Kamala focused on all the woke stuff. That's why she went radical, even though she tried to appear to be moderate, but we all know that her core was really trying to placate that radical wing of the Democrat Party. Well, James Carville is trying to reconcile all of this, and he is fighting back, and he had some spit-in words for the Democrat Party, and I thought you all would enjoy this.
The vice president was thinking about going on Joe Rogan's show, and a lot of the younger progressive staffers pitched a hissy fit. Supposedly the campaign said that wasn't the term effective, but they did. When you put a campaign together and you hire young people to do work, let me tell you exactly what you tell these people, what I would tell them. Not only am I not interested in your opinion, I'm not even going to call you by your name. You're 23 years old. I don't really give a shit what you think. And let me tell you another huge error this made, is when people said campaigns need to reflect progressive values. No, they don't. No, they don't. Campaigns are authoritarian by their nature. And if I were running a 2028 campaign and I had some little snot-nosed 23-year-old saying, I'm going to resign if you don't do this, not only would I fire that on the spot, I would find out who hired them and fire that person on the spot. I'm really not interested in your uninformed, stupid, jackass opinion as to whether you go on Joe Rogan or not.
Now, while some people in the Democrat Party have been speaking some common sense and have actually been making sense since the election, it sounds like they're not learning their lesson as a whole, the Democrat Party. I don't know if y'all have seen this, but apparently Kamala Harris has not ruled out running again in 2028. Do it, Kamala. Do it! Come on! I mean, to be fair, she did say she might also run to be the next governor of California, but Caitlyn Jenner said she would run against Kamala and that she, Caitlyn, would crush Kamala. So that would be one fight I absolutely would love to see. So Donald Trump right now, his approval ratings are sky high. They're the highest they've ever been during his political life. And what's even crazier to me is that his approval rating is actually higher than the number of people who voted for him. So people are thrilled not only about his election, people are optimistic and very excited about the future of the country, but they also approve by a large number of all of the people he's nominating to his cabinet and to his administration. And dear commentators on CNN, this is actually being reported. These facts are being reported on your network. So please take note. So the next time you have these conversations with Scott Jennings, you're actually informed about what your own network is reporting. So here's a look at what Harry Enton has to say about Trump's approval ratings.
Take a look here. President Trump's transition net approval. You go back to November of 2016. Look at this. It was just at plus 1 point. Just at plus 1 point. That is well below the historical norm. Look at where we are today. Significantly higher. Plus 18 points. That's 17 points higher on the presidential transition net approval rating. The bottom line is this. If 8 years ago Americans were lukewarm on Donald Trump, at this particular point, they're giving him much more the benefit of the doubt. A lot more Americans are in love with this transition. This much more meets the historical norms where normally presidents get that boost coming out of their victory. And what we're seeing here is Donald Trump's presidential transition is getting a thumbs up, and dare I say, 2 thumbs up from the American people. Now what we see is that the majority is excited or optimistic about the Trump term. So what we're just seeing is very different numbers from where we were 8 years ago. 8 years ago, folks really were not that in love with the Trump transition. Now they are, and more than that, looking forward to the upcoming Trump term. 8 years ago, the majority were scared or concerned. Now the majority are excited or optimistic.
And don't forget, the mainstream media also underestimated in the polls Trump's actual performance in the election. So I wouldn't be surprised if they likewise are underestimating his actual level of support. Now, I don't have any evidence for that. I'm just saying, it's not a far-fetched conclusion to draw, or at least a theory to put out there. Now, even though Trump hasn't taken office, his movement and his mandate is already having a real-world effect. So the New York Times just reported this. Walmart, once eager to promote diversity, pulls back amid conservative pressure. Among other things, the retailer will no longer use the term DEI, which of course stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then Fox News has even more details. According to them, Walmart has become the latest U.S. firm to join the growing trend. And if you take a look at that subheadline, Walmart joins Ford, John Deere, Toyota, and other major companies in ditching controversial DEI initiatives. I think this is great news to focus on meritocracy, to focus on whether or not someone is actually qualified for the position. And that applies not just for the corporate workplace, but for school admissions or for, yes, even cabinet positions in the next administration. And look, as I've said before on the channel, I am afraid that the extremes on both sides sort of misrepresent what the other side is saying. So let me be very clear here. I am not against diversity. I am not against inclusion. In fact, I'm all for it. However, the number one qualification should be whether or not someone can actually do the job, whether or not they have the merit to do the job. If they happen to be diverse, if hiring them or letting them into a program happens to be inclusive, great, all for it. But someone's diversity, someone's status should not be the sole reason that they get hired or put into a position, right? Because then you're just lowering standards. And that's harmful for everyone. Not only, think about it this way for schools. If you lower your standards for people just for the sake of diversity and inclusion, then aren't you actually hurting the person you let into your program? Because if you lower the entrance qualification for them and they're not actually qualified to be in that program, aren't they more likely to fail out of school or get bad grades or suffer mental health problems because they're stressed? I mean, this is actually harmful for all communities involved. And what I was saying about the extremes is I think the people on the left misrepresent what the people on the right stand for. The people on the right aren't saying absolutely no diversity, absolutely no inclusion. No, that's not what they're saying. What they're saying is there is a problem, but we don't fix it. The solution is not to hire people just for diversity and inclusion to fix it, right? The actual solution should be to take a look at, hey, how can we improve education in underserved communities? And by the way, underserved communities aren't just Black communities or minority communities. They're also white communities, Native American communities, heck, Hispanic Asian communities. This is an issue that transcends race. Underserved doesn't mean race. Underserved means underserved, regardless of the color of your skin. And so I think the two solutions as I see them, or, I think what the left has done with DEI is let's solve this problem just by hiring unqualified people. And then the people on the right are saying, hey, that's not the solution. The solution should be, how do we make sure everyone has access to this education and has the opportunity to be able to get ahead? Now, whether or not people take that opportunity, you can't force it onto them. And likewise, you can't force them into positions they're unqualified for. Just my take. And of course, I would love to hear yours in the comments below if you disagree or have some clarifying additional information, or if you just have another point of view. That is totally cool. I love reading what everyone has to say in the comments. So let me know your thoughts on that. One more thing before I get two more stories, and sort of the climax is going to be this Catherine Herridge CBS bombshell regarding Hunter Biden's laptop. Yeah, don't forget, that's still a thing. But before I get to that, I just want to show you how the media is covering tariffs. So this is according to the Washington Post. Mexico vows to retaliate if Trump imposes 25% tariffs. So they're, trying to scare their readers. They're trying to scare the public into thinking that they're going to be punished by these tariffs. Now, first of all, Americans are all aware about that. I think people are excited. Number one, the issue with tariffs isn't actually to punish other countries. It's not to punish U.S. citizens. It's actually to incentivize these companies to bring back manufacturing to the States. And as they say in Working Out, no pain, no gain. Yes, there will be temporary pain with these tariffs, but the long-term future, the long-term benefit for the country is great for workers, it's great for consumers, it's great for taxpayers, it's great for everyone who lives here. So I don't get the issue with that. Now, I want to be really clear here. So a lot of people don't actually read the articles, right? A lot of people just see the headlines, whether they're scrolling on Google News or whether they're scrolling through social media. And so just even the way the headline is phrased can dictate what someone takes away from it, right? But let's take a look back at this. So Mexico vows to retaliate if Trump imposes 25% tariffs. But the headline says nothing about what that tariff would actually look like. You actually have to take a look at that first paragraph. Mexico's president responded angrily Tuesday to President-elect Donald Trump's pledge to impose a 25% tariff on its products if, and that being the operative word, if the country didn't curb the flow of irregular migrants and fentanyl. So in other words, Trump's only going to impose that if they do nothing to help with the border crisis. Oh, and by the way, Trump hasn't even taken office yet, and look at what the Newsweek is reporting. According to Newsweek, this was published just today. Migrant caravans not reaching border, Mexico president says after Trump threats. So a lot of these migrants actually come through from South America, and they make them, they make their way all the way up, and they have to go all the way through Mexico before they reach the southern border. And what Donald Trump has been saying, not just now, but even in his first term, is that if Mexico knows that they're going through their country illegally and going to their country to get to the border, Mexico has a responsibility to stop them before they even get to our border, because they're also in Mexico illegally. And so I think it's great news that that issue is already appearing to resolve itself before January 20th is even here. Okay, so the last story I want to share in this video actually has to do with Hunter Biden's laptop. Yes, that is still a thing. So this comes to us from Catherine Herridge, and it's a really eye-opening piece because she reveals that she, as the journalist, wanted to investigate Hunter Biden's laptop. She actually got a copy of it, by the way. And she was told by the higher-ups at CBS that she couldn't touch the story. They weren't interested in it. Translation, they didn't want to hurt Joe Biden. Translation, they didn't want to hurt the Democrat Party. I guarantee you, if they had a laptop from Don Jr. or Eric Trump or Laura Trump or any of the Trumps, Ivanka, they'd be reporting on that laptop nonstop. I think we all know that, right? Now, a lot of people misrepresent what the laptop is about. The Democrats try to make it seem as if Republicans are only into the dirt on Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden's sexual exploits and perversities, if that's even a word. But that's not really the heart or the crux of the matter, right? The main issue is, did Joe Biden use his son to peddle his influence, to enrich himself personally and to enrich his family? And there appears to be very legitimate questions that Catherine Herridge and, yes, the folks at CBS were interested in or aware of, and yet they didn't report on it. And I think that that is media malpractice. Here's what she had to say.
We eventually broadcast a story about the Hunter Biden laptop after the midterm elections in 2022. We commissioned a forensic review. I got a copy of the laptop data. I have it here still. I went to a lot of effort to get the cleanest copy of the laptop data, the same data that was provided to the FBI, because I didn't want to have any professional journalistic risk for CBS News. I wanted this thing to be totally locked down. When we did the story, we did it after the midterms. I argued against that because it was ready before the midterms. And my training is that you should always do the story when it's ready to go. You should not be dictated by the political cycle. Once we got the laptop story on the morning news, I felt that there was so much there that we could still do. For example, in the text messages, there's unfortunately the use of the N-word, the liberal use of the N-word. And I thought this was worthy of a story, but I was told that it was not something that interested CBS News. Then I asked for a forensic review of the laptop, and we found that there were more than half a dozen emails that were likely used by Joe Biden. I thought that was a story. But the answer that came back was, well, we need to know what the content is of the emails. But that was going to be a years-long process. So there was no way. So there were a lot of reasons I was told not to do it, not to pursue it.
To quote Donald Trump, there are very fine people on both sides, and even though I obviously have a distaste for the mainstream liberal corporate media, I do think that there are stellar journalists within those organizations, believe it or not. I think Catherine Herridge is one of them. I always pay attention to whenever she reports. I think she stands her ground, and unfortunately, whenever you work at a network, you do have to play within the box. You have to color within the lines. You have to work within the confines of your job and, who pays your paycheck, who signs the check at the end of the day. But I love that she is coming forward with the story. And don't forget, it was CBS who stealth-edited, by the way, Kamala Harris's interview, and still hasn't released the transcript. So I thought that was really interesting for her to say she did her due diligence. She, not the network, she verified everything on her own to make sure that CBS's name remained untarnished from the story that she wanted to pursue. And so all of that was on her. So bravo to her. Yet the same network, covered up for Kamala Harris, and they won't even take ownership for that. And they won't even be transparent and just release the whole transcript. Heck, if you have nothing to hide, what's wrong with releasing the transcript? Just, you're a news organization. Unless you're doing propaganda, why are you hiding it as if it's some, state secret that you can't reveal? Just let people see it. And yet, that transcript, we all know, is never going to see the light of day. But as always, all of this is my analysis, my commentary. That is what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So usually when I do the question of the day, it's about that opening story. So if you want to comment on the CNN story and the CNN panel, just having a hissy fit about Elon Musk joking about buying MSNBC, or maybe previewing he's going to buy it, let me know if you have any thoughts on that. But I did, ramble a little bit about DEI and about sort of my perspective on DEI and my thoughts on Walmart making that announcement. So I'd be interested to know what you thought about that. Do you agree with my take on DEI as far as the solution being education and opportunity and not trying to shoehorn people into positions that they're unqualified for? Or do you think there's another solution? Or do you think there's just another angle that I'm completely missing and leaving out? I'm not going to be offended. I have very thick skin. Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me in the algorithm to reach more viewers like you. Be sure to smash that subscribe button. My goal is to reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of the new year, and if and when the channel reaches that, to celebrate, I will introduce you to my sleepy but not sleepy dog, as well as my playful cat, handsome tuxedo cat. And in my next video, whether that comes today or tomorrow, I will have an updated list of the people who have guessed their names correctly, in case you're a new viewer. Oh, by the way, I have more information about this. I'm glad this popped into my mind. So 2 things. Number 1, there is a guessing game. The guessing game is to see who can guess the dog's name and the cat's name. So the clue for the dog is that he is named after a dragon in a fantasy series, and the cat is named after my favorite gambler, my favorite gambling character from a fantasy series. So those are your 2 clues for now. Every time we reach 1,000 subscriber milestone, so 96,000 subscribers, 97, 98, until we get to 100, I'm going to release different clues, and they're not going to be all fantasy based. I'll reveal, well, I don't want to give away the other clues, but even if you don't like fantasy or you don't like dragons and stuff like that, there are going to be other clues to help you out. Now, point number 2 is that there will be a giveaway, and I am excited to announce that I have almost confirmed that the giveaway is actually going to be from a small business. They make handmade dog chew toys, and they're indestructible, and they're actually gonna brand it with the channel logo, the channel name. They make everything by hand. They're Trump supporters at the business. There are 4 of them. They make it all by hand. I'm very excited, and I get not everyone has a dog, not everyone has a pet, and so there actually will be gift card giveaways as well. Y'all let me know. I know not everyone likes Amazon, but I was thinking maybe Amazon is the most widely used website for e-commerce, so I was thinking doing Amazon gift cards. If anyone has any differing opinions, let me know, because I want to make sure they're prizes that people are excited for. But there will be multiple winners for both the indestructible dog chew toys as well as gift cards. So let me know everyone's thoughts on that down below. But all of that to say, if this video entertained you, if you are interested in any of that, please be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.